attack. And this one has a different number because I wrote it like about a year earlier. This was PoWHCoin. Now remember I mentioned that Dogecoin was written as a joke, deliberately doing everything wrong. And they said, of course, nobody would ever put any real money in this garbage, and they did. This was the same thing. Some people on 4chan wrote a Ponzi scheme. And they said, this is a Ponzi scheme. Nobody would put any real money in this. Proof of work coin, deliberately intended to be a Ponzi scheme. And of course, then people put about $1 million in it. And in addition to just being a Ponzi scheme where it made no financial sense, it actually had a defect, so it got hacked and somebody stole all the money, stole $800,000. And that's what we're going to look at. And it's a different kind of vulnerability, although it's related to what we saw, where you subtract a number and the number turns into a big positive number. So this is PoWHCoin. And I think I've already got the source code here. So again, let's remove these deployed contracts from previous projects and clean my blockchain back to a clean blockchain with 100 Ether in every account. Okay. And now let's see if I have the PoWHCoin. I do. PoWHCoin is 300 lines of glorious solidity, 306 lines. That's the whole thing. So we're going to compile that. And then we're going to deploy that. And now we have functions we can execute on the Ponzi coin thing. And there's more functions. This is a real financial instrument that people really put money into. So the first thing we're going to do is, explain the blockchain. So now we're going to fund the contract. So once again, like everything else, you have to invest money in it so it has some. So we're going to put 50 Ether in here. So from the first guy, we're going to put in 50 Ether from the first contract. And we're going to hit the fund button. And that went through, and my balance fell to 50. Okay. And so the center button pane shows a log with Ponzi token V3. That's good. Okay. So now we can view the account balances. We saw that. The account balance fell to 50 for this guy. Now we can add another investor. So let's go to the second account. And we'll have this person invest 1 Ether. And fund. And that worked. So this balance fell to 99. And so that's fine. Okay. Now we're going to transfer 1 Ether from account 2 to account 3. And here's how it works. You approve a withdrawal by account number 3 and perform a withdrawal into account number 3. So you go to select the third account. Okay. And then you copy that account number. And then you go back to account number 2, which is going to be the approval to draw money from account number 2. Now we go down to approve. And so there is spender and value. The copied address is account number 2, goes into spender. I think it's account number 3, but I think that's the right address anyway. Yes. Let's see, we can go to the start of it. All right. 092. Yep, copy the third account. Okay. Okay, it's CA3 in this case, fine. So I put in that address, and then the value is going to be 1. All right. Now I do a transaction, and the green box shows that it works. So now I click the balance of old button, which is here. I paste in the account number for account number 3. And click it. And this has a balance of 0 because I haven't done a transaction yet. What I have done is approve a transaction into account number 3. All right. Now, this is the hack. To complete a normal transfer, I would transfer funds from the contract into account number 3. I've approved the transfer of one fund into account number 3. But what I'm going to do is move Ether from account number 2 into the contract address instead, executing the transaction as account number 3. And what this is going to do is confuse the contract, so it's ultimately going to subtract Ether from an empty account. And it's going to roll over and turn into positive infinity. That's the trick. And we'll see the code in a minute. I just want to show you it happening, and then I'll show you the code where this error happens. So it is, we need to get account number 2 selected here, okay, which has 99 Ether, which is fine. Now copy account number 2 and put it in transfer from. Okay. And into the from field, I put that account. And then I scroll up and find the address of the contract itself and copy that. And then I put that in the to field. And have a value of 1 Ether. But now, instead of running it now, I go back and I select the third account. What's going on here fundamentally is there are 3 addresses involved in a transaction. There's the address the money is coming from, there's the address the money is going to, and there is the address that pays for the gas. And by doing it this way, I have made all 3 of those addresses different. I'm sending money from account number 2 into the PoWHCoin contract, and I'm paying for the gas from account number 3. That is a transaction you can set up and request, but the developer didn't think of that. They assumed that the from address is always equal to the address that's paying for the gas. And that I'm violating that assumption. And that's the trick. So now, when I click the orange transact button here, it goes through and works. But now if I go to balance of old and check this balance, it's now infinity. It's now 2 to the 256 minus 1, because it subtracted the money from account number 3, which had 0. And so now this account is huge, and now I can just take all the money. This is how they stole all the money all at once. And by the way, this is a great thing about the blockchain, of course. There's a public blockchain, so if anybody hacks it, you have an exact record of everything they did. You can see what they did. You can learn how they hacked it. You can't do anything about it, unless you can convince Ethereum to roll back the blockchain the way DAO did, because you can't change the past, but you can at least analyze it and find out what's wrong. So, to understand the vulnerability, the code is shown here. This is the transfer from, and this makes sure that the transfer is no larger than the allowed value. So if the allowance is less than value, it's fine. Then it calls transfer tokens. And up here, it does transfer tokens. But see, since there were 3 addresses and the developer only thought there were going to be 2, it compared the amount in like account number 2 to see if I had enough money. But then it actually withdrew the tokens from account number 3. That's the problem. And you can see how it's pretty easy to make this mistake, writing this complicated code, having all these functions. That's why this is a pretty miserable language. Like C, it places too much burden on the programmer. You have to think of everything, have to always think of every condition, and these programmers are not careful enough, and people are rushing these things out, and people are throwing millions of dollars in them when it's just written. Like, Dogecoin, the guy said, I made Dogecoin in just 2 hours. I wasn't planning anything. I wasn't thinking of anything. It was a joke. I just saw the pretty dog, and I said, I'll make an imitation Bitcoin, except everything will be wrong about it. So he took the Bitcoin code, removed a few lines to make it ridiculous, and deployed it as a joke. That's Dogecoin. And I think it's got, $100 billion in it now or something insane like that. This is a mad world. People are throwing real money into this complete crap. And I've been involved in the world of real banking where bankers are careful and they have auditing and they have government controls and They check their stuff and they fix their problems, and if they do something wrong, they get sued. And then you have this crap going on. Or just some drunken idiot makes something in 2 hours, and you throw $100 million in it and treat it like it's actual real money. Anyway, there is no justice. It's sort of like Donald Trump becoming president. It's like the world has gone mad, and all our education and qualifications and doing things carefully and right just don't seem to matter. Just being popular seems to be all that matters. Anyway, that's the joy of PoWHCoin. So I'm going to stop this one.